The explanation for why you begin with energy and then wane is entirely unrelated to self-control. The cause is that your work periods are simply too extended. This explains the method high achievers use to accomplish more in 4 hours than the majority of people do in 8, which helps you feel a greater sense of command and finally establish a consistent workflow. This isn't a psychological trick, but a physiological boundary, observed in individuals from masterful musicians to Charles Darwin. Your brain is not physically constructed for 8 hours of sustained concentration. It's a straightforward system founded on our actual neurobiology, and the entire process starts by sidestepping a single frequent error that derails your concentration within the initial hour of your day. Method 1. Taking command of your efforts. Here's a hard reality. It's not enough to simply acknowledge that your capacity for deep work is finite. You might carve out flawless hours for a task and still feel your focus splinter, like you're veering off course before you've even started. We often launch with great intensity, only for that momentum to wane. The issue isn't a deficiency in self-discipline. It's a structural weakness in how we apply ourselves. A majority of our cognitive power is squandered on struggles that were unwinnable from the outset. Modern psychology validates a classic mental framework. Individuals who concentrate on their own conduct, the elements they can influence, suffer less from stress and accomplish more. This model works by dividing everything into 2 basic columns: things within your sphere of influence and things outside of it. That's the whole concept. But where is the bulk of your own cognitive effort actually directed? Consider a professional undertaking. You have no influence over a client's final decision or whether your manager will approve of the finished product. Agonizing over these outcomes is like trying to change the weather. It's an expenditure of effort that accomplishes nothing but depleting your reserves. You do, however, possess authority over the thoroughness of your preparation. The concentration you apply while composing the initial draft is yours to manage. That single dedicated hour you commit to the work is entirely under your command. This approach isn't about diminishing your ambitions. It's quite the reverse. It's about becoming the engineer of your own focus. You cease investing resources in variables beyond your reach, the perceptions of others, the ultimate result, and instead channel that power into constructing your own solid groundwork, one manageable step after another. This is the path to making consistent headway without succumbing to burnout. Yet, organizing your thoughts is one challenge. Transforming that newfound insight into a practical daily habit is another entirely. Method 2. Gaining momentum through goal subtraction. The real reason you constantly lose your way isn't a deficiency in self-control. The cause is your attempt to reach 5 separate objectives simultaneously. We believe advancement requires accumulating more tasks, but this is exactly what keeps us stagnant. Your energy gets diffused without generating any forward motion. You possess the planner and the calendar, yet the days just blend into one another, preventing you from finding a flow. The issue isn't your implements, it's your ambitions. To engineer concentration, there's a straightforward approach utilized by financier Warren Buffett. List out your primary 25 professional ambitions, then encircle the 5 that are most significant to you. Genuinely, only 5. That now represents your complete focus. So what becomes of the other 20 ambitions you didn't circle? They don't form a secondary list. They constitute your never touch under any circumstances list.
These other goals are the gravest diversions in your life. They are precisely appealing enough to entice you and siphon your focus. They make you confuse sheer activity with genuine productivity and are the very reason your efforts get derailed, preventing you from building real traction. The objective isn't to accomplish fewer things, but to ensure every action has a meaningful impact. By aggressively eliminating these merely adequate diversions, you forge a clear way to finally advance on what is genuinely essential. Method 3. Grasping the full expense of a diversion. An interruption lasting 5 minutes isn't a 5-minute setback, it's a 30-minute one. Why can a minor disruption have such a major effect? Imagine you've hit your stride, achieving genuine headway on a critical task. Suddenly, your phone alerts you. Just a peek, you tell yourself. Afterward, however, you're struggling to regain your footing. Your drive has vanished. The entire flow is broken.
Our assumption is that a 5-minute diversion sets us by 5 minutes. This calculation is flawed as it overlooks a concealed factor: opportunity cost. It's not merely jargon for financiers. This is a core principle governing your concentration. The concept dictates that the genuine expense of any decision is the worth of the premier option you sacrificed. During those infrequent periods of profound concentration, the substitute for glancing at your device is not a void. It's your most precious imaginative output. The expense is not limited to the moment spent browsing. The real toll is that surrendered minute of peak focus, compounded by the 23-minute average required to reclaim that identical state of mental clarity following a disruption. The decision, viewed this way, is no longer a brief pause versus continuing to work. It becomes high-impact output versus a half-hour void of productivity. To adopt the mindset of a time architect, you must persistently pose one question before shifting activities. Is this the optimal way to spend this unrepeatable instant? Such a filter shields your concentration. It renders consistent advancement nearly unavoidable as you begin to perceive diversions for their true, substantial expense. Method 4. Secure your peak hour for top priorities. The most powerful strategy for getting everything accomplished is to initiate your day by sidelining most of it. We operate under the delusion that warming up with trivial assignments is productive, yet that one practice is precisely why you consistently run out of fuel for the work that truly counts. You're orchestrating your own failure before the day even properly starts. You pledge to yourself that the significant project will happen later, after the inbox is cleared, following the meetings. But this is an attempt to run a marathon when your energy has already been drained. Why would you ever commit your most valuable resource to low-yield activities first? In personal finance, the most dependable principle is to pay yourself first. Before you cover your bills, you direct money into savings. Applying this same reasoning is the only method to build forward motion in your day. Your best energy is a finite commodity that depletes with each decision made. This is not a subjective feeling. It is a thoroughly documented phenomenon called decision fatigue. Applying this principle to your time means your most crucial goal is given your best hour, not the leftover fragments of attention at 4 in the afternoon. This must occur before the inbox is ever launched, and well before other people's agendas can become your urgent problems. This approach isn't about fabricating more time. It's about strategically commandeering your optimal time.
When you secure that one essential win early, the pressure for the rest of the day completely alters. You're no longer struggling to get back on track. You're already ahead of the game. This is how you cease drifting and begin to create sustained progress, one safeguarded hour at a time. Architecture of a productive week. We've looked at these methods individually, but what occurs when they're no longer distinct ploys and instead form one interconnected system? The distinction between a person who flounders and one who discovers their rhythm isn't about exertion, it's about the way the components fit together. These concepts aren't merely an assortment of instruments, they are cogs in an engine. As you assemble them, the impact isn't simply additive, it's exponential. A familiar scenario often emerges. Someone puts in 60-hour work weeks and feels perpetually disorganized.
With an extensive list of projects, they have a nagging feeling that details are constantly being missed. Establishing any kind of momentum seems impossible. Consequently, they cease their search for additional hours and begin architecting a different approach. First, their focus is narrowed to their own direct actions by applying the dichotomy of control. This involves deliberately disregarding anything beyond their influence, such as competitor strategies, sector rumors, and final results. Next, by employing the 5-25 rule, their 20 projects are slashed to just 2. To safeguard their attention from tempting but distracting ideas, the other 18 are transformed into an avoid-at-all-costs roster. Following this, they implement the pay-themselves-first principle. Their highest priority is given the initial 2 hours of the day before a single email is ever seen. Their peak energy is devoted to their most critical task, not the scraps.
Finally, what was once a brief 1-minute phone check is now recognized as a 30-minute productivity void they cannot afford. They safeguard that block of time by internalizing the concept of opportunity cost. What's the outcome? Their chaotic 60-hour week transforms into a 45-hour week. They didn't discover 15 hours, they manufactured them through the methodical removal of inefficiency. And within that condensed time frame, they achieve more consistent forward movement than ever previously. Confusing activity with achievement. You've emptied your email and completed numerous minor duties. Why then does the one thing that is most significant feel more distant than when you began? This isn't a lapse in self-discipline. It's a subtle snare engineered within your psyche. Your mind has a built-in aversion to incomplete undertakings.
This phenomenon was identified by psychologists as the Zeigarnik effect. An unresolved task generates a mild state of unease. To alleviate that stress, you don't confront the large, intimidating job. You seek out a minor, simple thing that can be concluded immediately. Responding to a message or tidying a directory provides a swift dose of comfort, a gratifying sense of completion. But is that sensation forward movement or simply a method of concealment? You are employing the feeling of being occupied to sidestep the unease of the labor that truly counts. This is frequently labeled structured procrastination, the skill of leveraging small, helpful chores to evade the primary objective. The peril isn't in your inactivity. The real issue is that you are stuffing your time with something else, which makes it simple to persuade yourself that you're advancing while you continue to postpone your own future. Escaping this pattern begins the moment you cease rewarding the busy work and recognize it for its true nature, the most convenient route to getting sidetracked. Assembling big dreams from tiny moments.
Ironically, achieving substantial advancement requires you to abandon the hunt for large dedicated time slots. You know which single endeavor is most important, yet you continually postpone it, holding out for an ideal, unbroken 4-hour stretch to find your flow. This is the way cherished goals perish, not with a bang, but through a string of otherwise fine days we dismiss as unsuitable for getting started. We tend to view our days in binary terms. Either it's on with a spotless opportunity to work, or it's off and considered a total write-off. We label those inconvenient intervals, the 15 minutes before a meeting, the 10 minutes for a file to transfer, as useless filler, fragments to be discarded.
But what if those fragments are more precious than the large chunks you're hoping for? The answer isn't in manufacturing more hours. It's in redefining the measurement of your effort. Cease framing the goal as work on the novel. Such an objective is too immense. It won't squeeze into a 10-minute opening. The alternative is to dissect your ambition into an inventory of separate 15-minute micro-assignments. Draft 100 words. Locate 3 data points. Structure 1 paragraph. Keep this inventory accessible constantly. Now, when a 20-minute opening materializes, your choice is predetermined. No mental energy is squandered on figuring out an entry point. You simply perform the next small assignment. The result is entirely foreseeable. The individual awaiting that perfect stretch of time remains stuck and feels unfocused. The individual who gathers the leftover moments makes consistent, tangible headway. 100 words here, an outline there.
It might not seem significant in the moment, yet, after a month, a full chapter is complete. This isn't about discovering more time. It's a strategy for constructing your project from the very moments most people throw away. True reason life slips away. You're getting better at using the fragments of your schedule, but what happens when the years still seem to evaporate? A sense of being dispersed takes hold. The days merge into one another, and your momentum falters. We often conclude that life is simply too brief, but consider if that's less a reality and more an admission. 2 millennia ago, the Roman thinker Seneca proposed that our genuine issue isn't the brevity of our existence, but how squandered it is. He had a precise term for individuals who are perpetually busy yet achieve nothing of substance: the occupati, meaning the occupied. This state has little to do with a packed schedule. It describes a mind that is perpetually captured by inconsequential concerns.
How much of your day is consumed by worries over a future you cannot command, or taken up by past grievances and the turmoil of others? When your focus is perpetually diverted, you cease to inhabit the moments you're granted. You lose your way because you were never present to begin with. You become a passenger in time, not its owner. The past is a recollection, and the future is an uncertainty. This makes the present moment the sole asset you truly possess. By surrendering this moment to diversions, you're not merely squandering an hour. You are deliberately making your life briefer. The necessary course correction isn't a search for more time. It's the reclamation of the time already yours. You accomplish this by regarding this very hour, right now, as the only concrete reality. This is how you stop postponing your life and begin to build consistent momentum. Autobiography of your hours. We often believe our life story is forged in grand theatrical events. The The reality, however, is that it's composed within the quiet appointments of our daily planner. Consider what an impartial observer would conclude about your genuine priorities if they could only inspect that single document from the last year. No background, no rationalizations. Simply the raw information of how you allocated your hours. What judgment would they pass? There is a prevalent notion that our authentic life is still on hold, that our days blend together as we anticipate the real narrative to unfold, assuring ourselves that tomorrow is when we'll finally get serious. This feeling of biding your time, that period of waiting, is the actual plot. As the writer Annie Dillard noted, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. Your life's account is not composed in a few instances of victory or setback. It is assembled line by line in the small recurring blocks of your schedule. This reframes your calendar from a simple organizational tool into the primary text of your identity. So who is the editor? Every block of time you devote to your most significant objective is a sentence in a chapter detailing your ambition. Every pointless engagement you turn down, every alert you mute, that is a deliberate act of revision. You are the author. Your schedule provides the evidence of the narrative you are choosing to inhabit right now. The only question remaining is, what does it communicate? Trial run for change. The honest reality is that understanding concepts accomplishes nothing on its own. A chasm exists between the plan and the execution, and it's the ultimate reason we get derailed. We think that change must be an enormous, lifelong commitment, and that very pressure causes us to stall. You make a promise to yourself. This Monday, I'm making a permanent change. Yet the burden of forever is precisely what keeps you immobilized. That first step is made to feel so monumental that you endlessly postpone it, awaiting an ideal moment that will never materialize. It's impossible to generate forward motion this way. So let's abandon the notion of forever. The most effective transformations don't begin with a lifetime vow. They start with a one-week trial. This last method is a formal experiment. For a mere 7 days, your objective isn't to overhaul your existence. You're simply conducting a test to gather information. Select a single concept from this guide, just one. Perhaps you allocate the first hour of every morning to yourself, or maybe you apply the fragments of time approach to that specific project. The aim is not flawless execution, it's careful observation. When the week concludes, the sole question of importance is, what were the results? You are no longer grappling with hypotheticals, you're working with your own irrefutable evidence. This brief, low-pressure trial achieves what a forever pledge cannot. It generates genuine momentum. Through first-hand experience, it demonstrates to your mind that you are capable of structuring your days in a new way. It bridges the divide between knowing the strategy and believing you can execute it. This is not about finding a lasting solution in 7 days. It is about showing yourself that you are in command. This is the method for creating sustainable progress, advancing one intentional week at a time.